All right, gentlemen, here we are.
Let's close the hatch.
Yep. Doop boop. And rap. Okay, hatch is closed. We're in the sub.
Dive.
Episode 4. Run silent. Run deep. What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East, Second Floor Studios, takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Thoughtful, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion. So, we all just got back from holiday celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, you do anything
really
fun?
dating this podcast that won't be released for several
it's just
months.
A holiday, it's pretty generic.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
Flag Day.
Mm-hmm. President's Day. Ooh. Did you do anything fun, Alex?
Just visited with family, saw some friends. Nothing too crazy. I actually went to a bar on Christmas Day. I can't believe I was one of those people, but I actually did go to a bar.
Bars are open on Christmas
Oh,
Day?
out here in Ohio, of course. Yeah.
I can't believe I never knew that.
And it was actually pretty crowded, too. So, it's pretty fun.
That's unreal. I mean, did you get any kind of special Christmas drink, or were you just classic Alex doing Irish car bombs? And
No Irish car bombs. It would have been nice. Just a couple of Bud Lights, nothing too crazy. The bar that I was at, they have a deal on Mondays that if you buy their mug, you get refills of it for like $2. So it's a pretty good deal.
But we are not sponsored by Bud Light.
We are not.
No.
So you abandoned your
bleep that
family
out.
and friends on Christmas Day to go drink $2 Bud Lights?
I didn't abandon them. I'd already left. So.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So they abandoned you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is how you're coping with it, self-medicating.
No. Other than that, though, the holiday was great. How about you guys?
Oh, wait, any holiday mustards you try or no?
No, I didn't, believe it or
No.
not. Yeah.
I did have a really good one. Well, this has been a couple of years now. One of my buddies gave me...
Couple years ago, you
couple
had
years.
a good one. Okay.
Yeah, I remember this because he
Okay.
works for a big grocery chain in Michigan, and one of his coworkers or something owns this mustard company. I want to say it's called Backwoods Mustard. And
Also not a sponsor.
not a sponsor, but I'd highly recommend it. It was this really good jalapeno type spicy mustard. I might have even shared it with you, Alex. I can't. It was when I was living in Ohio, so
Oh, really?
you may have had it.
I might have. Yeah, I might have liked it if it had jalapenos in it.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't do all that much. Visit family, do that thing. Watch the submarine movie.
Ooh.
Normal stuff.
Yeah.
The podcast did come up at our family get together. Everybody was giving me a lot of crap for it. I was
A lot of
"Look."
grief.
Yeah, I was like, guys, you don't understand.
Yeah, Patrick
This is
said
going to be
yeah.
huge.
My brother got a ride with my in-laws down to where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
and he said they were making fun of my podcast the whole way down about how my wife didn't think it was real.
Parents just don't understand.
Yeah, I guess.
Goodness.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got a little run silent, run deep. This was the one that when we talked about my podcast at home, my dad was like, well, there's one. Have you seen Run Silent, Run Deep? And he just pulled it out of nowhere, and we were listening to it.
Decided to
we already
watch
decided
it.
to watch it. I had it downloaded on my computer. I was like, yeah, I have it upstairs. Like, do you want to watch it? And he's like, yeah. And then we didn't, but he would have. He would have definitely watched it.
You
with
let
us.
your dad down.
I did, but he's seen it a bunch. It's like his favorite
A
one.
bunch? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why he was the first one that came to mind when I mentioned submarine movies. It was another one On the Beach or something, an Australian film he also mentioned.
Australian sub-movies.
Yep. On the Beach. The other one that I saw while I was on vacation, of course doing research for all this stuff, was there's one called The Hunley. Kind of like the quarterback for
Brett Hunley?
Brett Hunley. Where, do you know when it's set? What war it's set?
The Hunley. Would it be like a Korean War?
American Civil War.
Oh,
No
wow.
way.
Yeah, it was an 1864 first submarine. It actually was
the turtle, right?
It was a Confederate submarine that sunk a ship.
Really?
Yep. So I have a movie about that one too. Something to look forward to in the new year. Around after, I mean, I count the new year from after Flag Day, so that's why
Right.
I'm mentioning that holiday.
New Year for me is typically St. Patty's Day,
Right.
because that's literally the most excited I've ever been for any holiday in my life was St. Patty's Day during college. That was the best.
And you'd be basically reborn. You feel like you've died, and then you're reborn.
I died by about 8 a.m., and then I was reborn into the night again.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Oh, my word.
Alrighty. So, Run Silent, Run Deep.
Yes.
So this one's starring two main stars, Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster. They hated each other.
Yes. This isn't, yeah.
Legit.
If those names didn't give it away, this is an older movie.
It's an older film, 1958. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
58.
Yep. And they hated each other. Mostly because Burt Lancaster was like a bit of a more of an up-and-comer at the time, and Clark Gable was 2 years away from dying at the age of 59.
Well, he didn't know that at the time.
He may have been able to guess. He smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day and drank a whole bunch of alcohol and basically was like, I'm too sick to ever work past 5 anymore. So he may have had an inkling that he might die.
That's pretty bad. If you're too sick to work
Well, you can even see
5.
In this film there's scenes where he's like sweating and shaking. And they said
I noticed that.
Yeah, they said that was because he was so sick. He also had like terrible back pain. He just was really not doing so hot at this time in his career. It was near the end of his career. So
yeah, I'd say if you're on having back pain, anything like that, submarine's not really the place for you to be.
No. And Burt Lancaster was like a spry. He had been in the circus. He was like an acrobat.
Really?
And so I think he was more up to it. Most everything. He was also, in the trivia I have, he was also a bit of a snob. But I don't know if that was real or that was Clark Gable kind of like spreading some like shit about him.
Oh, I read some of the stuff up on this. I can't wait till we get into that.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
It's based on a book, barely adapted, based from a book though, from what I understand. I did not read this one.
Does anybody even read anymore?
Well, I'm currently reading Hunt for Red October, so that when we get to that, I'll be like up to it.
HFRO.
Yep. HFRO. Yes. Yep.
I had to sit there and think about it.
Okay. Alrighty. So
Not too quick,
I don't know if we want to do some. Let's just jump into the recap. I think
I think so.
Start
Probably
from the
best
beginning,
place.
as is traditional. So we have Clark Gable. I'm actually forgetting his character's name.
Rich.
I can't remember it either.
Rich, I think.
Well, Richard maybe his first name.
Nobody calls him
Richardson.
Rich.
Richardson.
Captain Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson. I think that's right. And he's a captain of a submarine. We see him in the middle of a battle. They sink a ship, and then a Japanese destroyer, turns toward them, and we get our first glimpse of Bungo Pete, which sounds terribly racist, but I guess it's just part of it. I mean, it's Bungo Strait. That's where they are, so it's not that racist. It's just a location.
Bungo Strait, and they're in the Yakakazi.
Yeah, and they turn towards them, and they make themselves real thin, right? Like when a boat's on its side, it's like you can just throw torpedoes at it and sink it.
Right,
But when
it's
it
like
turns
hitting the
towards
broadside
you,
of a barn.
Yeah, literally, it's like the broadside of a destroyer.
It's even bigger than a barn.
Much bigger than a barn, I would assume. I have not done the scientific measurements of it, but
Barn science is pretty advanced.
right. And so it turns towards them, and so like the protocol for the Navy is like, don't shoot, just dive, get out of there and dive. And so they start to dive, and they have an incoming torpedo or incoming bomb or whatever, and they get sunk. And Clark Gable's able to survive, and a bunch of the Americans are able to survive, but a whole bunch die.
They really, when this happened,
Yeah.
they should have really upplayed it, because it was just kind of like the screen flashed black and white, and then they're floating on top of the
floating in
surface.
there, yeah.
They should have shown some kind of explosion.
Well, so I was actually thinking about this. If this was remade, or if this was like a modern movie, we'd be seeing like people being like and have their like hand blown off, and like like a lot of war gore, like you see in something like Saving Private Ryan or something. But this is pretty tame. They're just kind of like floating on the water, and they're like,
oh darn,
oh gee willikers. I guess our submarine has.
because it's the
Sunk,
50s.
yeah.
Like, oh goodness, you got
Well, I
us.
mean, it was actually World War II. So
But when the movie was made.
Oh, I see. And then.
But did you notice in the beginning that when they were firing torpedoes, again, as I'm sure we're going to see in every single movie, Shoot the fish.
Shoot the fish. Well, yeah, so we're 4 for 4 on fish. I will say we are not 4 for 4 on crush depth. Now 3
garbage.
for 4.
I've got something for
No
title
no
of this
crush
movie.
depth.
You don't even talk about crush depth.
Unacceptable, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're now 3 for 4 on crush depth. We're 4 for 4 on the fish. Torpedoes being called fish, which is nice.
At least there's some kind of,
Yeah, so
I can't
so
even think
part
of
of
the
this whole thing is like Bungo Pete gets a reputation. We learn that he has like a reputation now. He never misses. Bungo Pete never misses, and it's crazy. He's in this boat and he never misses the subs, and he sinks a whole bunch of subs. We see Clark Gable. He's now on the desk. He's got a desk job, and they keep on hearing of a new sub has been sunk in the Bungo Straits.
In 1 year, 4 subs have been
4
sank
subs
in the
sank.
Bongo Strait.
Yeah. And he's kind of like, he seems to be not doing so well. Every morning he practices a risky maneuver to sink Bungo Pete.
Yes.
And every morning he succeeds in his imaginary world.
Well, go figure.
Yeah. And so
He's just on his desk, and the one guy steals these little
yeah.
miniatures from around the office.
Mueller, Kraut Mueller was the nickname, derisive nickname given to him because he's got a German last name, but he was a little strange. A bit of a kiss ass. He's like, "Oh, you did it again, sir. We sunk him again, sir."
That's 200 days in a row.
Oh, another day. And so Clark Gable hates it, but he sees an opening. A 4th sub has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's time.
yep, he's going to finagle his way onto that next sub.
Yep. But then the scene cuts, and it's showing Burt Lancaster, whatever, on this submarine, and the crew's all excited. They got him this jacket that says captain, because the next ship he's going to be on, he's going to be the captain of.
Yeah. He's going to be a captain of that ship, I think was the idea.
Right. Guess what? That doesn't work out.
Clark Gable's got different ideas.
Yes, he
So
does.
he convinces them, the higher-ups, that he should get another shot. He knows the strategy. He knows what's going on out there, and he knows the ship's going to go out to Sector 7. So he's like, I know Sector 7. Sector 7's really dangerous. But, I know you're worried because I literally look like I'm about to die.
Literally, I'm shaking.
Yeah. And, but like, if we have basically as an executive officer, if I have a captain, someone who could really be a captain there, then everything's cool. Right. And they're like, oh, actually, this is a great idea. Get Lancaster some battle, get him battle tested out in Sector 7 with a guy who knows it. Like, this seems perfect. So they do it. And Lancaster is none too happy.
Not at all.
Yeah. But he
even comes to his house.
Yeah, he comes over there and he's like, "Oh God, we're gonna need some gin."
Oh, because his wife there, like, I'll make some lemonade. He's like, we're gonna need gin in that lemonade.
Yeah,
Betty.
Yeah, because he knows
it's not her name.
He did something pretty shady, pretty obviously shady, and he's gonna have to deal with this guy who's not very happy with him.
Right.
Yeah. So cut to onto the
Immediately
sub,
on the
basically.
sub.
Yeah.
That's what this movie we talk about in all the other movies. Time spent on the sub. We got a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
I think we even have more time spent on the sub than we did in Phantom.
No, I would disagree. Oh no, you know what? Because of the beginning too. Yeah,
Yes,
you're right.
I think
it's a very
we
short
do.
amount of time off the sub.
Yeah.
In fact, we've picked some really good ones for how long we were actually on the sub.
Right.
You think of them, I guess, not even down Periscope. They're off the sub for like a second, literally a second.
Well,
He's on a sub, and then he gets his command and he goes right onto that sub. I mean, everyone's kind of
right. But they have all the other scenes, I guess,
sub.
with Rip Torn and
all
the other
they
guys
got other
and
stuff.
whatever.
Other storyline. But
this one, there's really not much of that at all.
Yeah. So they they start their voyage, and right off the bat, there's some like issues, mostly around the fact that the crew doesn't really like Clark Gable, and Clark Gable becomes like a drill master. In a lot of ways, it's like Crimson Tide. Like we got like Clark Gable, who's like drill, like we got to drill, and everyone's like, oh man, my morale's pretty low. You just told us that we have to go to Sector 7.
Right.
And which is like the worst. And now we're just drilling all day, imaginary drills that make no sense. Like, this sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. And they had a whole bet about where they were going. They assumed they weren't going to Sector 7. And no one was going to bet on Sector 7, so that meant it wasn't going to be bad luck.
And the young guy did. Was there some kind of stigma around number 7 when it comes to sailors?
No, I think it was just Sector 7 was the one where everyone sunk.
Well,
So they
see,
didn't
I
want
kind of
7.
thought there might have been. So I looked up something
Mhm.
on, things that are bad luck when it comes to ships. And this is where Phantom could have scored some extra points,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
What was that?
So you remember the scene, I even brought this up, where they're walking onto the boat in Phantom and they drop the oranges?
Yep.
It should have been bananas.
Is that bad luck?
Bananas are bad luck.
On a submarine?
Well, I'm just, for sailor superstition, they're bad luck.
But why?
There was a bunch of banana cargo ships way back in the day were the ships that were sunk. So it's just bad luck. If you got bananas, you're probably going to get shot down or sunk or something. So I wish there were bananas in Phantom, but there weren't.
That's the worst. I don't understand that at all.
Right.
So if it's anything gets sunk that has anything on it, you can't do that anymore?
Well, it was not just one ship. It was multiple ships. It had bananas.
Thank God we don't have a ship where the captain pulled his dick out and then got sunk. Otherwise, we wouldn't be treated to all those times in these movies.
It all comes full circle. We already mentioned in a Harris movie, and you got the dick whipping out. And,
Well, it hasn't happened yet in
Yeah.
Silent Run Deep. I mean, that was a crazy scene.
well,
It turned to color all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then Burt Lancaster, Clark Gable pulls his wrinkled dick out.
wrinkled.
Well, he was 57 years old at this
Right.
point.
Right.
2 years away from death. His dick was not looking so hot.
No,
He should have known.
Wow, that thing's about to fall off.
Yeah. So
I don't have much time left.
So, anyways, they're real drained. They're going to Sector 7, and they're just drilling over and over again. And what really gets them mad is that they see this just Japanese sub tooling around, slow sub. They're so much faster than it. They have a better sub than it. They could just turn around and sink the damn thing. No one would blink twice. They would be able to, already be heroes.
Add another notch in the bedpost.
Just like
something.
whatever. And he's like, nah, too easy. Watch it and then let it go. Which is like, it doesn't make sense.
Don't do that.
You get a little bit of a mindset of what the war was. It's like, no, we sink these motherfuckers.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, no, you just go after them. That's what war is. You can't let them go. They might sink another ship later. Like, then we're assholes. Then we're the assholes.
Right, because inevitably there will be another U.S. ship coming through.
Yeah.
That's not a submarine. It's not going to spot them.
It may not even be a ship. Maybe something bringing cargo to the army. Like, you got to make sure that you sink those Japanese ships when they're
Right.
around.
It could be a U.S. cargo ship going to pick up PlayStations in Japan.
Yeah.
And then what are kids going to do on Christmas?
Yeah. It's entertainment.
It's more than entertainment. It's a
Yeah.
way of life.
Yeah. Make sure you keep the populace subdued so you can keep your war going.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But so then this actually causes a problem among the crew because everybody kind of thinks that now he's spineless. They think all you want to do is just run these drills, get these times, because that's a big thing. He wants to just dive down, level off 50 feet, shoot a fish, and then continue on.
Yep.
But he wants to do it as fast as as fast as possible.
Right.
And so doing this, when they've been doing all these drills, they don't take the shot. This is when morale is kind of tanking.
Yeah.
And they ask Burt Lancaster, say, you need to take over the boat.
Yeah. And so he doesn't, and then they spot a different situation. They see a convoy, and there's boats, this decoy boat, which is essentially like it looks like a fake boat, but it really has guns in it. And so, like,
This
you
does come into
sink
play
the
later.
decoy boat.
But he doesn't go for the decoy boat because he's seasoned, and the decoy boat doesn't have a lot of displacement.
He goes through behind it.
Yeah, well, if you were to shoot at it, the torpedoes would just go underneath it.
Yeah. And so he goes after one of the boats and then gets a destroyer to turn towards him. And just like in the beginning, they're faced kind of pointed at them, so real small target. And they go through the drill and they fucking sink that thing. And they do it in 32 seconds, which is like a world record. Guinness World Record came in and we're like, you got it. Like, you did it.
This is where Guinness World Record started.
Yeah, it was. And they are talking about morale. Like, their morale was at 0. It went straight to 100. They were just like,
these guys are going nuts.
oh man, like, let us at them. Like, we just did that thing. Like, this is something that's not even in the books. They rewrote the books. And they're like got their swag back, really.
Yes.
But Burt Lancaster's not as happy as everyone else.
No, he really isn't.
Yeah, because he sees what's going on.
Mm-hmm. He said, "You're just doing these extremely risky maneuvers. We could have just taken them at their broadside."
Yep. And we're doing it because you plan on disobeying direct orders, going into that bungo straight, and going after Bungo Pete. And Clark Gable's like, "Oh yeah, I am." And then he turns on the radio, is like, "Crew, I'm going to the bungo straight."
Yes.
And everyone's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, nobody's happy with it because now it's we knew it because we're watching from the
Right.
outside, but it's just a personal vendetta the entire movie.
Yeah. So they go to the bungo straight. They're in the bungo straight. They pull up there, put up periscope, looking out there. They see a whole convoy, and just like they expected, and they're like, "Okay, here's our time to shine." So they go up, they sink a ship. Bungo Pete turns towards them, and wait, this is weird. Planes are coming at us, almost like they knew we were coming.
Right.
Huh, that's strange. But let's keep calm. Let the planes miss us a million times, because that seems to happen in this movie.
Yeah. For Bungo Pete not ever missing.
Yeah, he
you know,
misses a
all
lot.
those cannons, they were like all over the place.
They literally never hit them.
No, not even close.
Yeah, they always.
Well, I
miss.
mean, sorry, they were close. You know, close enough to make a
Splash
1950s
in whatever
movie
pool.
crowd
Yeah.
pretty nervous.
Right.
But the planes couldn't hit anything either. Like,
No.
dude, if you put me out there in a crop dusting plane, I could just throw a stick of dynamite over it, and I could probably hit it.
Yeah. They're holding steady. They shoot off their torpedoes. They don't hit. They dive, and they're diving, and they start to do there's some charges being dropped by the boats.
Oh, the depth charges.
Depth charges, and it causes some problems on the submarine. And of course, Clark Gable puts his dick back in his pants.
He's like, hold on, guys.
Yeah, he's like, hold on, I'm the captain, but I got to go down and help something.
This will be out later.
Yeah, so you better believe it. And
Take notice.
Yeah.
See what this looks like.
it's coming back. And so basically one of the depth charges blows the door in the torpedo room. And so he's like, I'm the captain. I better go down and like check it out. And it's like chaos down there, and a bunch of people die. Like a torpedo falls in that poor young guy.
The youngest guy.
Ugh,
This is the
bad
first
luck.
time we've seen this in a movie. Somebody gets crushed to death by a torpedo.
by a fish, yeah. Fish lands right on top of him.
The scream I thought was absolutely terrible, though. If I could be honest.
Was it the
Well.
classic movie scream?
It was
No, it
so
wasn't even
delayed
a
'cause
Wilhelm scream. It was yeah.
Right, I'm gonna say Wilhelm.
It was a really delayed scream. He even started screaming. He didn't even try to move. He started.
He didn't?
Yeah, he started to scream first, and then it just kind of crushed him. He screamed for like 5 seconds, and then it crushed him.
Can you do that scream, Alex?
I'm gonna have to watch it again, but I'll practice it for the next episode.
Okay.
Just give it the old college try.
I don't remember exactly what it sounded like. I just remembered it being really bad, and I started laughing at that part, even though the poor
It
guy
sounded
died.
exactly like Chewbacca. Just like Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Yes.
It's like, "Wah." No, I can't do it. See, I'm terrible at it. And so in the process of him getting crushed to death, crazy, 1951 or 1958 movie or whatever.
We're getting into some hardcore stuff.
Yeah, but he Clark Gable gets knocked over and gets a terrible concussion. It's like he played in the NFL. Like he was.
Yes.
They were like they whistled. They brought him out. They were like, you need to be evaluated because
Right.
this is not good.
And they even did the eye test.
They did
His eyes were
everything.
Going all crazy.
It's like, this guy's a doctor.
They put him in a little blue tent on the side of the sub so
Yeah.
nobody could see what was going
They
on.
basically did. It's essentially the same
Yeah,
thing.
they really did.
And the doctor was like, "You've been done fucked up.
Yes.
You better like not be the commander anymore." But while this is also going on, Burt Lancaster's in charge, and they seem to think that they get a
they're getting some weird transmission.
well, no,
that nobody
they-
can make out.
First, they think they get their own torpedo turned around on them, and so they dive real quick and avoid it. And they're like, "Oh man, a torpedo turned around on us." They felt like they could have gotten Bungo Pete if it wasn't for that, but it turned around on them. Like they had shot it. Oh, it must have come back at us.
Right.
And then they start getting this weird Morse code transmission, but it seems like gobbledygook. That it's not. They don't understand it.
Right. I can't make out Morse code.
It's not. No, it's
It
not.
sounded like normal Morse code to me.
Well, no, but if you look online people say like it was nonsense.
Oh, it didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any
Okay.
sense.
So that was coming through. Nobody understood what it was.
No.
And then it just stopped.
Mhm.
But all the while, Clark Gable is...
He's there. And he's just not looking
concussed.
so well. And so they take him out. They're basically like, you can't really be the commander anymore. And Burt Lancaster comes in and be like, I'm taking command from you.
Right.
And he's like, oh, it's a mutiny. And it's like, okay, slow your roll. You're incapacitated, so I'm taking over.
Even the doctor said, this is the type of thing where you will, if you're standing, you will black out every few minutes.
Yeah.
You will die.
Yeah.
So.
Said, and if you continue to stand, you eventually will black out permanently.
So they start repairing the ship. They have repairs going on. They can't really leave until they get the repairs done, until that door's fixed and all that stuff.
Takes 2 days,
Yeah.
and with Burt as the captain, they're just going to head back to Pearl Harbor.
Heading back to Pearl Harbor. And you'd think with him being like the golden boy, everyone loves him on the submarine. You'd think everyone would be like, great, let's head back. But like,
Not the case.
no, a bunch of them are like, you know what? I've never been on a ship that headed back to port with 15 torpedoes and a bunch of Japanese,
Right.
boats out there. Like, we should be unloading these, sink as many as we can, and then maybe we can head out. But like,
Right.
no, not like this. We're cowards. And so they're really not happy.
And even a mini skirmish breaks out.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean it's one punch to
Yeah.
the face.
And so then something changes Burt's mind. Lancaster decides he's actually going to stay and fight when he hears Tokyo Rose on the radio. Tokyo Rose is actually a myth, not a real thing. Didn't actually happen.
I was wondering all about that.
No, it's not. It's not real. There were propagandists and stuff like that, but it's not really. There wasn't really a Tokyo Rose.
Oh, it wasn't as accurate as what they made it out to be.
Right. And but they hear on Tokyo Rose saying all the names of people on the submarine and how they had sunk, including Krautmuller, which was a nickname no one used. He used it once on a
Right.
note he wrote as a joke.
Well, okay, so we need to
bring it
rewind
back.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
just to bring it back.
So to preface this, after all these depth charges were going off and there was damage to the boat and 3 people died, they needed to stop the depth charges, otherwise they would totally get sunk and everybody would die. So they kind of faked their own death.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They put in the torpedo tubes, they ejected a bunch of bedding and extra clothing, and they even
And
put
people.
they even put the 3 dead guys in there.
Oh yeah.
And sent them up to float to the top, and so that way it looked like they were totally sunk, like bodies were floating. This was a sunk ship. Chalk one up for the Japanese.
Yeah.
And then the Tokyo Rose transmission goes through and says, by the way, we sunk this, and then they list all those
Right.
very specific names.
Yeah. And one of them is Krautmuller, and Krautmuller.
It's not his official name.
No, and he only used it once on a note. And what happened to that note? It went into the garbage. And we were treated to a little, previous scene where you see the garbage being thrown out. It's just kind of thrown in the ocean and supposed to be weighted down.
Well, the guy almost dies.
Right, he almost dies throwing it out one time. So that's how
Because
we know
of
how
a
it
drill.
does. Yeah,
He's stuck on top of the
he's just on top of the sub while it's diving.
And that actually, at the time it was going on, you can wonder what's the significance of this. But then it all comes together.
So it turns out Burt Lancaster realizes that the Japanese are getting the names and knowing that they were there from finding the trash that's being thrown out. And so
Right.
like, okay, I figured it out. Now,
Fishermen are finding it
Yeah.
and taking it over to
so
the
we
Navy.
know, so they know 2 things. They think they're dead, and they know how they've known that they're around, which is from their garbage. So like, stop throwing out the garbage, and they'll think they're dead, and no one will know they're there. They will finally have an official advantage on Bungo Pete.
Right.
And so he's like, I'm going back in. I got to go back in. So they go back in. They go through the same whole thing. There's a convoy. They go up. They sink a boat. Bungo Pete turns to them, and they fire and do the whole drill, and they fire and blow him to pieces,
Right.
as he deserved.
And Clark Gable, while he's kind of out of it the whole time
Yeah.
because he's laying down, but he gets that little smirk
Yeah.
across his face.
Yeah.
Like,
And this is the first time, this is how you know Lancaster's the captain, because he pulls out his dick, like for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's a young, spry dick, and everyone's like, look at that guy.
Wow, his skin's so tight.
Yeah. They are pretty impressed. And they're like, you can keep it out forever. You're our captain. It's like, that's right. I don't need your permission.
Report me to command. I dare you.
Right.
Look at this thing.
And so, but they're diving, and
This is where they find out what the transmission
yeah.
is.
So Gable is like hallucinating, kind of, and he keeps on hearing the Morse code, and he goes, "Oh, wait a second!" And he runs up, And he goes, it's a Japanese submarine, which is probably why they couldn't understand it. It was all coded or whatever.
So,
Yeah.
you ever hear about that person who suffered some kind of concussion and they woke up? They were an English speaker, an American.
And
They could only speak Spanish?
Yeah.
I wonder if that...
He could only speak Japanese coded Morse code.
Yes.
It would have been kind of hard for them to understand. He just says
like,
Morse code.
He's like clicking. Like, what is this?
I also can't make that out. That's weird.
He just keeps saying it, like throwing his hands up.
Yeah. So apparently this is a famous line because it says, it's a Japanese sub. It's a Japanese sub. And so they quickly dive, and they dive deeper, and they just miss getting destroyed by a torpedo, which has been shot by this sub. This
As is customary in the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
There's all these narrow misses and all that stuff.
Yeah. And so it's run silent, run deep. And now they've got to run silent and they got to run deep because both the Japanese sub and their sub
they have to.
Right, are going real deep and real silent. They've both turned off their engines and they're both waiting with hushed tones. Trying to figure it out.
So it's really funny because they shut it off. He's like, well, let's make it a standoff.
Yeah.
It only lasts like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like, this is not much of a standoff.
And I don't even really totally remember why does it end. They just realize they have to like surface. Or
yeah,
something,
like, well,
right?
we need to surface.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to surface anyway.
I think in one of the scenes you see the ships actually sinking, since they weren't moving forward, they were just sinking. So I think that's why they had to go up.
They're like, okay, well, we got to surface at some point. They're gonna have to surface at some point. Let's just go up. It's like put engines full blast, so they know the Japanese sub know they're surfacing. They know they're gonna come up as well. And they get up there and they locate them. And the Japanese sub is like, oh, shit. And so they start quickly trying to go behind one of the ships.
Yes.
The decoy ship.
Decoy boat that doesn't have much displacement.
Yeah.
So they say,
fire it through.
those fish.
Yeah. Fire those fish. And they let Clark Gable do it. He's like basically on his deathbed.
Right.
In real life and in this movie.
Yes.
They're like, take out that dick one more time. That's what they tell him. They're like, let's see that guy one more time. And he's like, ugh.
And he does
I'll do it.
Like,
oh, God.
What is that?
Fine. Okay. And then off the fish go, and they destroy.
Well, they
go under the ship.
Right underneath the decoy boat.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all the people on the Japanese sub were like,
no.
Godzilla!
Yeah, and they get destroyed.
Boom, done.
That was racist, though, Kyle.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
Okay, I agree now. Okay, yeah, it's true. You're just celebrating their culture, I guess.
Aren't there subs in Godzilla?
Probably.
I'm thinking at least one.
I'm guessing Godzilla picks up a sub at some point.
Bites it like a sandwich.
Yeah, like a hot dog. Put some mustard on that guy and takes a big bite.
Yes.
I think we got a logo. We got a logo.
Yeah.
Get some mustard on that sub. And so so they kind of realized that it wasn't just Bungo Pete. Like it wasn't him that was never missing. It was really this submarine that would come along and destroy things.
Because we saw Bungo Pete suck.
Yeah.
But he also had a really wicked, cool scar on his face.
Did he?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. I didn't notice. And
so how couldn't you?
Yeah. So then so they sink the sub. Gable is like, I mean, he's basically like, oh, he's like ecstasy. He dies while climaxing.
Yeah.
And so then it ends with his burial at sea.
This I think would have been really funny because they like lower him down into the tube because he was dying. It just like dropped.
Yeah. It's like
boom. Like, what the heck was
Which
that?
is funny. It'll come up later, but I was watching a clip from another movie, and that exact same thing is done in that film, where they have the flag over him and they just tilt it over and the body falls out.
No way.
Oh yeah, it'll come up.
I think I've seen that before in a James Bond movie too.
That's the movie that's coming up.
Oh.
Look at you, Alex.
All right. Then did you not notice that's when James Bond gets taken by two
divers.
Divers
and
put
put
into a
submarine.
submarine.
It's just now coming together.
Oh yeah. So we'll be watching that one in the future.
Oh my goodness.
So so that's our little recap. I don't know if there's something to
Probably
do.
the shortest recap we've ever had.
It could be the shortest one.
We're getting there.
But I do want to mention a couple things about the book. So the book is way different, and even the author, who was Clark Gable's character, actually didn't die. He wrote a book about his experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Said like, oh well, they just Hollywoodized this. Like it's not really my book. They just got my name. They wanted my name, and they made a movie out of it. Like that's fine.
Okay.
And because like first of all, both Burt Lancaster and Clark Gable's characters were 23 at the time. In the book, they're both 23-year-olds.
There's no way that they're.
No, so in the book, those characters are 23 years old. That's why everyone made a huge deal about the fact that Clark Gable's in this thing. It's like, you're 58, man.
Right.
Like, you are super old. And
all right, but think about it. In all the movies we've watched so far, well, barring Down Periscope, because that was the most accurate one, there's always been a really old captain.
right, yeah, yeah. No, I think I don't think that's totally ridiculous necessarily, maybe for like Cold War, but I think when you're talking about like, you have like a whole bunch of subs
This is the
out in
first
the
World
war.
War II one we've watched.
It is,
which
yeah.
is kind of crazy.
That is a little crazy.
There were no U-boats at all.
Nope, just these submarines, yeah.
The Pacific.
Yeah, so in it in the book, Lancaster's character Bledsoe, he's a hotshot risk taker, and he's basically a pile of human garbage. Like
Lancaster's
character sucks, and he is kind of like this hotshot, but like super big risk taker. And Clark Gable's character kind of comes in as like, you're no go, you cannot be a captain. So they go out and he's captain, and everyone hates him because everyone on the boat's young and ready and raring to go. And so they love Bledsoe because they're also risk takers. And they're like, I can't believe you just ruined his career by saying that he can't be a captain.
Right.
And so then they get sunk, and Clark Gable's character is injured. And so Bledsoe's character in the book goes out on his own and ends up getting sunk and dying. And also getting sunk by Bungo Pete. Now, in this whole thing, he's also like a pile of human garbage. So he keeps on coming back and like cheating on his wife at Pearl Harbor, and Clark Gable's character's like, oh man, I feel so bad for his wife. Foreshadowing.
Go ahead and feel bad all over.
Right, exactly. And so he goes back out. He convinces, and he's been working on like the accuracy of the torpedoes and stuff like that. He goes back out there. And we're
talking about Lancaster?
No, Lancaster's dead now.
Oh, so this is Clark Gable.
He got sunk.
Well,
Clark Gable's character in the book, Richardson.
Book Clark Gable.
Yeah, so Richardson goes back out, and he goes out and sinks Bungo Pete. He's a big hero.
Okay.
Now the funny thing is, it ends with this whole scene where they sink the submarine and the boat and everything.
Right.
And people come to the surface, and the Japanese are all in their lifeboats. And explicitly in this book, Richardson's like, we got to ram those lifeboats and kill all those people because Bungo Pete might still be alive. And they went around
just ramming
and destroying these lifeboats filled with survivors.
Incredible. Why has this actual book not been made into a movie? This sounds great.
So, of course, they did not include that in the Hollywood version of it. Particularly they even mentioned...
Now, was that book, you said it's based on his experiences? Did he say whether that was real or not?
I think that was real. I mean, I think at the time in World War II, especially since like there was Japanese at kamikaze, there was a lot of like kind of unsavory things. They had Nuremberg trials all about like bombing civilians and stuff. I think the nature of war and what it was just different. So ramming lifeboats was just like, well, that people might be alive and they might come back and kill me. So you go around and ram those lifeboats or whatever. You bomb London to hell because the Germans want them to die. You firebomb Germany because it's just like you want to scare them and reduce morale. I think after that is when you start to get all those like war crime laws and stuff like that. Back then it was a little different. We dropped an atomic bomb in Japan.
Yeah, that's
you got to remember that. Yeah, and also Crimson Tide. I guess we did learn from Crimson Tide that it wasn't so clear cut, that dropping of the atomic bomb.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Goodness.
And so, anyways, in the end,
ramming lifeboats.
Yeah, in the end, Gable's character goes back and totally takes Lancaster's wife to the Bone Zone.
Wow.
And they get married. So it would have been a very different movie if it had been made for that.
So if we made our own movie with this, I would have Lancaster still be alive, but.
Oh, based on the book. You're saying truer to the book, but Lancaster's alive. Yeah.
Lancaster would still be alive, but Gable, after doing all this, would come back, impregnate Lancaster's wife, and then there'd be a whole nother trilogy.
Yeah.
Where Lancaster's raising Gable's kid, but he doesn't know it.
Wow.
And then at the end.
That's really intense.
Yeah. Then at the end, he finds out, and then he has to shoot his own
Burt's
kid.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So the first movie would be a submarine action film.
Yeah, and then
the second movie is like a drama. Yep. And then the third movie is more of like a horror thriller of sorts.
Yes, because you have like a 80-year-old man chasing down this 40-year-old.
And he's half robot at that point.
Well, he's half cyborg, so he's a
Right.
quarter robot.
I see. Right.
He just has a bionic leg.
All right. So I think we got to go inches. So Alex, what are you thinking inches wise?
I give this one an 8. 8 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, I liked it. I guess some of the things I just don't understand. I guess, and maybe I'll look into it more to see it's more. I guess the title, Run Silent, Run Deep. I mean, there's only one time that they went anywhere deep and quiet at all. And I don't know if this is really how warfare was done with subs back then, but they were on the surface for most of the time, looking out, and then
They were basically a boat.
Yeah, it was just basically a boat, and then that could go underwater real quick and then pop back up whenever they needed to. So I think that's something I want to
I will
look
say
into.
those scenes of them going under the water was pretty cool. Because I don't think we've seen in our movies yet like the kind of the exact mechanism of going under. Just so many times doing those drills.
Yeah.
Just like over and over again. You're seeing how they're kind of like going under the water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So I guess that's just a misconception on my part. So I'm gonna go look and try to see if I could find out some more about sub warfare for the World War II, because I was expecting them to be underwater a lot more than what they were. But other than that,
especially with the title.
yeah, especially with
Because
the
they're
title.
supposed to run silent and they're supposed to
Run deep.
specifically run deep.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, goodness, the bottom of the boat was maybe 15 feet underwater.
Yeah.
The whole top was exposed. Yeah, and like you said, most of the time. That was what I kept thinking the entire time. I thought they should be silent
Yeah.
and deep.
Yeah.
They were not silent. It really was just that one moment.
One scene.
One scene.
It's kind of like down Periscope may as well have been called Run Silent, Run Deep, because they ran silent and ran deep once.
Right.
Yep.
And it was even more drawn out than it was in this movie.
Crimson Tide also ran silent and ran deep, but not of their own volition. Their boat stopped working, or their submarine stopped working. That
true.
wasn't great.
That's very true.
Phantom never ran silent and ran deep. Well, I guess
don't
at the
need
very end when they died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still don't know
Yeah,
if that was
we
a
still don't-
hallucination, though. Like
You still don't even know if that boat's been found, right?
half of it.
Yeah, half of it.
So they're still very silent and very deep.
All right, Kyle, what's your inches?
Inch-wise, I do echo what Alex said about running silent, running deep. I did notice that they were at surface a lot of the time. But also, this movie kind of paved the way, at least for what we've seen, of these other modern sub-movies. I think it's very good.
I will just jump in real quick. We don't know that because we haven't yet watched the other submarine
We haven't
films.
watched movies from the 40s or whatever. But
Because there are other. I mean,
there are.
yeah,
But from 1958, I thought this movie was pretty good.
it was pretty good.
I mean, even by today's standards,
Well,
I was
no,
watching it and I
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't expect to.
It's often on lists for 100 greatest American films. Like it is in very rarefied air in terms of what's considered to be a very top-notch quality American film.
So I'd have to say for this, I'd probably give it, like Alex, it's about an 8 for me.
See, I was hoping you would go 7 maybe.
I was thinking 7 or 7.5.
Because I also
but-
want to give it 8. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be so that we'd have some differences, but I think it's 8 across the board. This is an 8-inch sub movie. It's a good movie.
It is good,
It
even
just-
by
yeah.
today's standards.
Yeah.
Because I think of a black and white film, I think, dialogue's going to be just garbage and all that. But no, it was well done. The effects for that time were very good.
They were actually
And I
pretty
liked,
good,
I liked Burt Lancaster. He was kind of like showing his stuff. I don't know a lot of Burt Lancaster films.
I don't either.
I don't think. I mean, I probably have seen a bunch, but not necessarily remember the exact ones. And then, of course, Clark Gable is just it's a little bit past his absolute prime.
Right.
Right. So, like, pretty good.
I'd say
Some good
so.
stuff.
it was good.
Even bump the mic. Even by today's standards, I think it's good based on the ones that we've watched.
Yeah.
All
All
four
right.
of them.
Right. So what do we got for different? I got some trivia. I got some other stuff. But do we have any other things? We got sub news. You want to talk about maybe some background on what we have? What do you think the next section to be?
Well, let's see. You got facts on the movie or trivia on the movie.
I got trivia on the movie.
Let's do
Yeah.
some trivia.
All right. So I'll start. I mean, every movie, for the most part, has some alternate casting, what-ifs. I'm going to start with that one. So Frank Gorshin was originally due to test for the role of Petty Officer Ruby, who ended up being played by Don Rickles, but he refused to fly out for that testing. So he drove, and he got in a car accident. Couldn't test, so they gave it to Don Rickles.
No way.
So Don Rickles, you know who he is. He's
Yeah.
like the balder guy,
Right.
smiling all the time, making some jokes.
Mhm.
So this guy, Gorshin, played the Riddler in the original Batman TV series. So that's how you might know him.
Okay.
Yeah. So, question is, kind of bringing it back into Batman, question is this film better if it were to have, as the captain, instead of Clark Gable, Adam West? What are we thinking?
Ooh.
I think it would have been a little bit better.
I'm not sure he has the range.
See, I'm on the other end.
Yeah.
I think Clark Gable did a fine job.
Oh, I think he did a great job too.
I don't know
But, I mean, he looked like hell though. I don't think Adam West would have looked that bad. I don't know. Maybe.
But he
Looks aren't
also,
always everything,
Adam West
but-
couldn't, rest in peace, but Adam West couldn't act as well?
he didn't need to.
I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know.
See, because the Adam West that I'm, much more familiar with is, Adam West when he was on Family Guy.
Right.
For the mayor, Adam West.
Right, yeah.
So I can't imagine him
It'd be
in
tough.
this movie.
Okay, how about Michael Keaton as the main character?
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, a.k.a. Batman.
That.
I don't think he
Michael
could
Keaton
do
or
it.
Clark Gable.
I feel like Michael Keaton would have to be a different character. I could see him in the Burt Lancaster role, maybe.
Right, but not in that main role.
How about Val Kilmer?
Is it before or after he got fat?
After.
After
he got fat?
Yes, specifically.
No.
Oh man.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, he'd be in a similar position as Clark Gable at this point. Probably not working past 5. His back hurts. He's shaking and sweating while he's trying to do these scenes.
Right.
So similar spot, maybe a different starting floor.
I guess
for
when
the
you think
audience.
about it, because Val Kilmer's like the ladies' man back in the '80s and all that.
How about George Clooney?
When you started this, I was thinking George Clooney, and I don't know why.
I feel like George Clooney actually is the first one where I'd say that would probably be better because he's a similar age at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably be able to play this role in a similar way that Clark Gable did, but is in
Right.
obviously a much better spot as his personal and everything, personal
Right.
life and stuff.
For me, that one's a push.
Okay, how about Christian Bale, aka Batman?
Christian Bale is awesome in everything he does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he can get fat. He can get fat. He can get whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch Christian Bale in anything. So
He probably can-
I'd say yes.
He can get his dick any way you want it to be.
Yeah, he can.
Well, yeah.
I think he'd be good in this. Yeah.
What about Ben Affleck, aka
Oh,
Batman?
No.
That's a no.
Come on.
I feel like that's no's across
Yeah,
the board.
no.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
What about Ed Harris?
Ooh.
Obviously, Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Top. Okay. There we go.
What do you think of sub actors? You even have Gene Hackman on that list?
I don't. I just have Ed Harris.
Good.
He's the only non-Batman I have on this list. All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Other trivia. Gable was old. Almost all of the trivia for this movie was about how Gable was so old. Everyone talked about it. It was a controversy with the film.
Right.
It even played into the way that Gable got the plot changed because he was so angry about Lancaster making fun of how old he was that he insisted that they change the plot of the film to make it so that he wasn't the basically bad guy. So he wanted
Right.
not to be the case. And so everything seems to point that it was correct. There were rumors that he had Parkinson's at this point, although he didn't die. He died of a heart attack. So I couldn't find anything to verify that. But I think it was because he was shaking so much. He had smoked 4 packs of cigarettes and, had been a heavy drinker for a lot of his life.
But cigarettes make you cool.
Yeah, that's true.
They're good
So,
for your
I mean,
health.
it's true. He was very cool at this time, but also very unhealthy.
But, I mean, you're just living the best years.
Yeah, you just got to...
Think about it. We're
give
all
and take,
prolonging
really.
our lives by not smoking, but what's the point?
But even the director who liked Gable was like, yeah, he wouldn't work past 5. He couldn't work past 5 anymore. He wouldn't do it
That's unreal.
because he just couldn't anymore. And so in the end, he was so angry about Lancaster making fun of his age that he went on strike, essentially, stopped working for a couple days. And the studio acquiesced and changed the movie so that he got sick. So he got that concussion rather than it just being a mutiny. Like a straight
because
mutiny.
I think I read about this because he had built up such a macho man reputation. And he said, "No, this guy isn't gonna overtake me.
Lancaster's
No
not gonna be the guy in this. We're both gonna be the guy in this."
Right.
And
And
so
if
they made him
he
be
could have
Ellen
had his
Ford.
way, he probably would have said, "No, I'm just the guy in this."
So they had him fall ill instead. So that's how the mutiny happened. Oh, and by the way, 4 for 4 mutinies so far. 4 for 4 attempted or successful mutinies in our submarine films.
Yes, it's pretty
So
good.
this was also filmed on the USS Redfish. It was a Bale class submarine, exact same submarine, the USS Redfish, that portrayed the Nautilus in the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea film made by Disney.
Really?
Oh.
So it had like, even on his Wikipedia page for that submarine, it says film career. That's one of the sections. And then this is my favorite one. I saved it for last. Underwater premiere. The world premiere was held on April 1st, 1958 on board the SS-313 USS Perch. The Los Angeles Times reported that this movie was the first ever to have an underwater premiere.
Wow.
And I searched around and I couldn't find another film with an underwater premiere. So this might be the only film with an underwater premiere.
I know what the second one's gonna be.
Our film?
Yes.
Yeah. Starring Ed Harris as the janitor,
Ed
serial
Harris.
killer.
Okay, and for that movie, I was just thinking when you were asking about all the other actors and would they be better, I think Woody Harrelson would be pretty good in a sub movie.
That's true. Is he not in one yet? I'll have to find out. I
He may
can.
be.
I think I can find this out somehow.
But I'd like him in one.
Yeah.
He's good in everything he does.
Yep. And so, before we get on to the next thing, last time I wanted to play a little 6 Degrees of Ed Harris.
Oh,
Try to bring
yes.
us back from this film all the way back to Ed Harris.
Yes.
So we were able to do it. We were able to do it from Down Periscope. We were able to do it with Crimson Tide very easily by getting back to Phantom.
Right.
And so I was like really struggling with this one. And then I found Teru Schemata played the Japanese submarine commander in Run Silent, Run Deep.
Okay.
He literally ran silent and ran deep in the film. Only 2 people did that in this film, and he was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He was also the antagonist of You Only Live Twice, starring Sean Connery. That film that we just talked about, the one where
You Only Live Twice.
Sean Connery gets dumped in the ocean and pretends to be dead, pretends to be assassinated. Some, scuba divers come along, push him into a submarine. They open it up, and off he strolls in the submarine. Now he's like on a British sub heading to wherever. So he played the antagonist in that. Sean Connery is, of course, in The Hunt for the Red October. In that, Sven Olsthorsson is the captain of the boat.
Okay.
Or not captain of the boat, something of the boat. COB. He's the COB for the submarine. Sven is also Hans in Enemy Hands.
Okay.
Yep. Starring William H. Macy, who was in Down Periscope. And since last time, we know that we can get from Down Periscope over to Ed Harris.
Right.
That completes the chain.
Wow.
That is 6 degrees. A little more than 6 degrees this time. It took us
Wow.
about 8 degrees for that one to get back to Ed Harris.
Still pretty good.
That is all submarine movie chain. From Run Silent, Run Deep, 1958, all the
good.
way to Phantom 2013.
That's really good because you think about it. This is very similar to somebody's bacon number.
Yeah.
There's not an Ed Harris sub number that anybody's got out there on Google. We can't just find it.
And this movie has probably an 8. It's a tough one. So it's pretty hard to get back. Although I haven't made my algorithm to like do it automatically and give me the lowest.
Right.
But this was the path I was able to find. Off the top.
It's
off
pretty
the top
darn
of my
good.
head.
Off
Yeah.
the top of your head.
I just remembered all these films and who was
Right.
in them. I was like,
Oh,
wait, I
okay.
recognize him. Yeah, okay.
I got that photographic memory, and I just pour over pages of internet movie stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Ed Harris, here's to you.
Here's
I'm drinking a coffee stout.
here's to your dick.
May you be forever young.
All right.
Alex, do you have some news for us?
Some sub news?
Yeah, well, I was doing a little bit of digging, and you had actually talked about this one before, though, Kyle, where Russian submarines are actually down near the internet wires that are in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm not exactly for sure where they're at in the Atlantic Ocean, but it's been kind of a fear that these Russian submarines are getting too close to the internet wires. And what they can do, they can either, one, cut it so it just gets rid of all the internet, or two, they could tap into it to try to hack it somehow.
All the European internet.
I guess so. Yeah, I'm not really for sure what it would do, and I don't know why they don't have regular internet to begin with. I don't know why this one's so special or not, but.
Well, obviously you've never used a submerged internet. So
True.
there's no outside interference.
So I don't know. One of the articles I even read, they're talking about opening up an old NATO building just to kind of help deal with this situation. But I also then started doing a little bit more digging into this, and none of the articles ever say that they've done anything. It's just that they're sailing around the area that's doing it. So I guess it's really not any news. It's just people out there fishing to see what's going to happen.
So the Russians haven't done anything.
Yeah, they haven't done anything. No. And
Okay.
And I also did a little bit more digging into this one. I'm finding New York Times articles back from October of 2015 saying the same thing. And nothing has happened since then. So in this case, it's kind of a no news is good news kinds of thing, but that is a pretty scary thing to worry about. If I was over in the NATO countries over in Europe, that Russia was trying to get into their internet somehow. But
do you think anyone would stop them,
Like
even
shoot
if they
down their submarines or what?
Well, I mean, nobody stopped them when they annexed Crimea. They just took it and was like, well,
yeah,
hey, you shouldn't have done that.
yeah. Well,
And then it just went away.
yeah. I mean,
This is getting a little heavy.
Yes.
I'm not so sure why this one is so important to them. I don't know why this is making headline news as it is, because I think everyone's got pretty much the same internet access, except for maybe third world countries here. But other than that, I'm not really seeing that big of an issue.
What about Peru? You think they got Google Fiber?
They might.
They might.
I have a friend who works on Google Fiber.
That's not up. That's not up in NATO though. So.
Well, I know, but we're just talking.
I'll ask him. I'll ask my friend.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, what's the Peru internet like?
Yeah. I mean, he mostly works over India and Indonesia and stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. If you were another country, Alex,
Yeah.
like how Russia's doing this, because I was thinking about this today, wouldn't it be fun just to go around and find these these wires and just go and cut them?
Wait. Okay.
Like, why not?
You might go to jail.
Who?
Wait, if you cut like an international wire,
Yeah. Who's
Yeah,
going to go to jail?
you would.
No, not me. I'm talking if you were a country leader. You'd be like, hey, just go ahead and cut this wire. Just to screw with people.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why isn't North Korea doing this?
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were heading down to a submarine and you're just going to cut them for shits and giggles.
For all our listeners, you may not know, I am independently wealthy and own my own fleet of submarines.
Well, that's how
I'm
you're so
mainly-
into submarines.
I mainly operate in the Great Lakes region.
Right. Well, you
But
had
I branched out.
you had that one submarine that sunk, and then you became very interested in making sure you knew everything about subs before you made a new one.
Right.
And that's what this endeavor really is all about.
Yes.
It's knowledge.
Help you. No, help me help you guys.
Help you, help me. Help me help you.
See?
Help me.
I did it wrong. No,
Right.
you guys help me help you.
So you're saying I help you help me? Or I help you help me.
You know what?
What?
Somebody in my house just had on the Santa Claus 3, the escape clause.
This exact thing
this
happens
is
in it.
what's going on.
I can assure you I am not a writer on Santa Claus 3. So
But it was like this kid. They kept like, help me help you, help me. And then like, Tim Allen would look at him. He's like, what? And then the kid would just, no, help you, help me, help you. And it just kept going. And it was going on in the middle of this conversation. It kept happening.
wow.
Oh my goodness.
Great movie.
So we're as funny as Santa Claus 3.
Hey, that's not bad.
Too hot.
Wow, shit.
Oh.
It's not Actually, we're not doing too bad.
I gotta
Oh my God.
pick this up. Oh no.
But Alex, I know you. I think if you were leading a country, let's say you had, let me give you a country. There's,
Malawi. No? We're talking about one with we needs a fleet.
we need something. It doesn't even need a fleet. If he had water access,
Yep, India.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're not going to put him in charge of India
Why not?
because that's too big.
Okay.
We need something with a small population. Alex, if we gave you,
You're going all the way over there?
if we gave you Benin
Benin definitely, yeah, okay.
and you had one sub, would you go around and cut other people's internet connection?
Ah, man. I don't know.
I mean,
depends.
There's a very easy answer to this.
It depends.
Yes.
The answer is no.
Would you go, let's say, would you just go and cut Madagascar's internet connection?
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
Just for
You
the
would get
lulz?
sanctioned.
Yeah, exactly. I know Alex. Alex would do that.
This is all playing into the same. This is like the same strategy that like North Korea and stuff has, where it's just like we're gonna act crazy, and hopefully people will give us some shit,
Right.
or leave us alone, or whatever. And if you're head of Benin and you're just cutting people's wires, they're like, this person's a crazy person. Clearly, has no real objectives.
Because it'd be all over the news. People are like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, now we know this country exists. What's happening?"
They would go after you.
You think so?
Well, think about if Benin, like let's say you were just like, oh, it's pirates. Like you were the head of Benin, but you're like, oh, it's just pirates, like going around cutting wires or whatever.
Yeah. Scrape all the serial numbers off these subs.
They'd be blowing those subs out of the water. They'd be like, pirates, we're destroying you. It's no big deal.
But so then you'd only want to put disgraced members of your Navy on there, but then they would go rogue.
But do you see my point? They don't have any problem destroying them if they're doing things illegal in the open water, international waters.
No, I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
But so if you're the head of Benin and you're just blaming it on pirates, you would put your disgraced Navy people on there. But then they could go rogue.
We've gotten on the rabbit hole. Okay. That was a great news story. We need to at some point talk about the sub that was found in Australia from World War One.
Just found.
Oh, yeah.
And then the sub that was found off the coast of Hawaii from World War II.
Also just found.
But I think that was a fun one just from, situation in the world. I don't know what's going to happen when we release these. Maybe at that point it'll be even more relevant. Who knows? Maybe they'll have cut the internet or something.
Could be. And this news article actually ties into subs worldwide.
Thank God we're on this section that I love so much.
Yeah, you can always tell it's Jamie's section because he's trying to talk me out of it.
Okay.
So, this was mentioned in the last movie we watched.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what type of sub it is?
Bilal?
No.
Oh.
Last movie. Not this episode. Last one.
Oh, so you're talking about down Periscope?
Yes.
Los Angeles class?
No.
Or was it a Virginia class?
No.
Was it a...
It literally has the best... Well, it's the most badass name of any sub on the planet.
Oh, Seawolf.
Seawolf.
There we go.
That is correct. So the Seawolf, it is a United States submarine. It's a nuclear-powered fast attack sub.
Of course.
Silent operation. This thing will cruise at 20 knots. For any of you land mammals out there, that's 23 miles per hour. That's silent. Max speed, 35 knots.
Wait, silent? Oh, I see.
Silent.
Right,
Cruising silent.
Wow.
Max speed, 35 knots. Again, for you bipedal organisms, that's 40 miles per hour.
Wow. It's pretty good.
That's pretty fast.
It's cruising.
Right.
Ah.
So this also holds 14 officers, has 126 enlisted men. There were 29 of these originally planned to be built.
Yeah.
But only 3 were actually completed because they are so expensive. They're the second most expensive submarine on the planet. They cost $3 billion a piece.
Only the second?
Right, yeah. $3 billion a piece.
Number 1 is Elon Musk's. His personal submarine.
Yeah. The USS Jimmy Carter, $3.5 billion. That's a special class of this. But the only other ones that are more expensive.
I could pay for health care for the country for like a little bit.
Right.
It's a submarine. Worth it.
It is. Totally
Worth
is.
it.
The only one that's more expensive is a French Triumphant. I'm not sure if they say it a little bit different. They probably have some kind of accent. Triumphant class.
Oh, the Triomphe.
That sounded pretty good. So the Jimmy Carter is 100 feet longer than the other 2 Seawolves, which the other ones are 353 feet long.
Wow.
That's pretty big.
Huge.
So Jimmy Carter's over 400 foot long.
Are they all active, just ask?
These are all active.
They're all active. Okay.
All three of them.
I'm
They,
just-
they had better be.
I'm just waiting for the day when one of them becomes inactive, and we can go in as for a museum tour or whatever. Because that thing's
That would
probably
be-
amazing.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But the Jimmy Carter is longer because it has a multi-mission platform, which is capable of launching ROVs, which I better explain that because that's what they do in all sub movies. That's a remote-operated vehicle, and it can also be used to insert SEAL teams into their areas. And this multi-mission platform can also be used to splice or sever underwater fiber optic cables.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it
yes.
comes back.
Yep. So they stopped making these because they're so expensive, but they proceeded on making the Virginia class. And this hull is constructed of a high 100 steel in order to withstand deeper depths. So the crush point
Ooh.
goes up.
So you're saying that this thing can run silent at 30 miles per hour or whatever,
Yes.
and run deep.
Correct.
Wow.
Run
And compared
deeper.
to the
Yeah. Run
compared-
silenter and run deeper.
Compared to the Los Angeles class, which is the one that this replaced, they're larger, faster, and significantly quieter, and they carry more weapons and have twice as many torpedo tubes. So they have 8 tubes.
Whoa.
They can carry 50 Tomahawk missiles.
What?
And how much power do you think the nuclear reactor produces,
Oh my goodness.
horsepower-wise? Just take a guess.
I can't take a guess. That seems like a ridiculous thing to try to guess.
Just
22,000.
Okay.
Oh, 50,000.
It's 45,000.
Ah,
Ah.
guess he won that one.
Price is right, so you went over.
No, I'm the
Yes.
brain. I got closer. I'm the brain. I'm the brain.
Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
It's pretty powerful.
I wonder why it costs so much more to make.
Probably because it's super badass.
Yeah. It's like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
It's probably super comfy.
Probably is. Everybody probably has their own quarters.
That's actually something funny from Hunt for Red October book. Talk about how one of the captains kind of strolls by. He's gotten fat from the good food and the good life living aboard the submarine.
How far are you into it?
Oh, I'm only 100 pages or so.
That's about where I got to, and I was like, reading. Give me a movie.
Well, I'll push my way through. I'll make it before we watch that film
All right.
for sure. But yeah, what do we have anything else for this guy?
I'd recommend watching Run Silent, Run Deep.
I think so too. I think I
think we've probably said that about well, maybe not everything.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think they all have their qualities. I think this one is a good one. If you think you don't like old films, this isn't a bad one if you're into submarines. To kind of see what an old film's all about. I mean, it's not all boring and nothing. It's got
That's what
fun stuff going on.
I went into this
Interesting
thinking I was
stuff.
gonna immediately write it off because it's black and white. It's from the 50s. Most old movies I've seen, just it's whatever. I don't need to waste my time with it with all these new ones. This is definitely, I think, worth watching.
There we go. But yeah, Run Silent, Run Deep.
Alex.
Would I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. I did enjoy it quite a bit. I think you were definitely right. People probably would write it off just because it is older and black and white. But I feel like that didn't take away from the movie at all. Fairly decent.
Do you think it
story.
added to it?
No, I don't think
No.
it added to it.
I don't think it added to it. No.
No. But I don't think
I
it
was
took,
thinking
took
if we
away
did do
from
a
it.
remake.
I think they actually there was a point where I think submarine films, because you can even see it with the visual effects and stuff like that, where they all kind of caught up and started doing the same types of effects. This was still kind of old school. They were doing miniatures in
Oh, I still do that
Salton
today.
Sea. I know, but it was different. It wasn't quite to that level. So I think if it had been a little bit later,
I know
if
what
it
you're
had
talking
been
about with the torpedo scenes and stuff.
well, just even think
You could definitely tell they were in some kind of pool.
yeah, when in a lot of things changed with something like Star Wars. This isn't going to be on the same level of a blockbuster submarine film.
Right.
Yeah. And so if this has been remade, like if we remade it now, or if it was remade in the 1990s, I think we would have seen something that was pretty cool.
Well, you saw that with Crimson Tide, where they had the whole stage that moved to simulate the diving depths and angles and all that.
Yeah.
Because if you did notice, it's kind of like we're diving, and the camera's still just looking at them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
And we saw it in reverse with Phantom, where everything was shit.
Right. Money does play a factor.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Find us on SoundCloud and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.